Okay, today I'm going to take a quick look at the Swiss Volcano stove. These were military surplus items that used to be fairly common. Used to see quite a few of them. They're getting a little more rare now. Most of the time you could find these for about 10 bucks. I know Cheaper Than Dirt had them for a while. I don't know if they have them anymore. But basically it's a little three-part system. You've got a cup with a little handle that folds in, pretty handy. And it comes with a bottle, and this bottle is a corked 1 liter bottle basically, and it has a stove base that you can use either with artificial fuels like trioxane or sterno, whatever country you're in, whatever version of sterno they have, or you can use it with little alcohol stoves or other heat sources that are not wood. Additionally, you can use these with found fuel like twigs, and a lot of people like them for that reason. One thing that a lot of people do will be to just replace this bottle with a standard bottle. Either this one's 750 milliliters or 1 liter, whichever you prefer, and carry it that way because they don't like the cork on these because they worry about spillage and things like that. I tend to not carry a water bottle in here because usually if I have a water bottle I don't want it buried inside of a stove inside something else, so I don't usually carry it that way. I usually stuff this with either fuel or food or other small items. It works great for stuff like that. If you use this with found fuel like wood or other things, leaves, whatever, keep in mind that when you're cooking like this, and the outside of your pot is going to turn black and sooty. You can always wash that off. But one of the problems that people always talk about with the Kelly kettle is they don't like that the inside of this has soot on it after you use it with artificial fuel. To me, it's a lot easier to deal with soot on the inside of this than it is on the outside of that. So that's just something to think about. As I was mentioning, I think that these work great with the artificial fuels like sterno or these little penny alcohol stoves that you can use wood alcohol or denatured alcohol, or it's sometimes called marine stove fuel. Like a little penny stove in there with a little of this in it works fantastic. The other thing you can do, and I'm going to make a video on this eventually, is you can take Purell or some hand sanitizer that has 70% alcohol in it. Fill up this little bottom thing here, the upside down surface of your alcohol stove, and it will burn for long enough to boil water in here. Today I'm going to do a fire with the sterno in here, and I'm going to boil a cup of water for some tea. So a small can of sterno fits down on the inside of these nicely. The large cans don't fit as well, and you can just you can light it however you would normally light it, with a match or a lighter or the fire steel or however you want to do it. It'll burn. Now I know from experience that the bottom of this pop can with a little bit of Purell in it will boil this in about 10 minutes. Sterno is a little quicker, and found fuels can be quicker yet. As a comparison, a natural competitor that comes to mind for me is the Kelly kettle. Now, a Kelly kettle is a lot more expensive. This is the stainless model, so it is heavier than this. If you weigh the stove plus your bottle, it's 14.5 ounces. The stove by itself with the cup is 9.75 ounces, whereas this comes in, I think I remember weighing this at about 1 pound 10 ounces. That's the stainless steel model. The aluminum model is lighter than that. To compare the two, I would say that the Kelly kettle really, really excels using found fuel. You just dump a little bit of fuel in the base here, put it on, light through the hole here, and drop any extra fuel you need down through there. And this boils water like you cannot believe. The Volcano stove has sometimes some difficulty with found fuel, and I think part of that is that the cup reaches down pretty far so that your fuel chamber is only this big, so your fuel chamber is only going to go up to here, and so I think that limits some of the usefulness with this using found fuel that you have in other kinds of stoves. It's also a little bit harder to keep the fire going in this once you get it started because you have to feed fuel through this little door. And again, you can only fit so much in there, so it's a lot of fussing and a lot of kind of blowing on it to make sure you get good airflow in there and things like that. But it does work. In terms of overall usefulness, I think the Swiss Volcano stove is very, very useful because again, you can use it with found fuel, and then this cup. Say I have a can of soup or something and I just want to heat a can of soup in there. I can do it with this. With the Kelly kettle, you can't really dump a can of soup into there and cook it. You have to add a little attachment to this. And you can do that, but it means you're carrying extra stuff. So from that standpoint, I do think that the Swiss Volcano stove is good. Also from a weight standpoint, it's also a good thing. And really, it would be kind of up to your personal situation and what the trip was, what you were going to use as a stove. A lot of times, if I'm backpacking, I'm usually trying to cover big distance and I try to go real light, so I'll tend to carry lightweight multi-use gear that will do the job. And most of the time when I'm backpacking like that, the food that I'm going to be eating is dehydrated, and it's either like the Mountain House stuff, or it's stuff that I make myself. And the stuff that I make myself, I always tune that to be usable with 2 cups of boiling water. One question I've always wondered about with these volcano stoves is, what is this thing for? And I know it works great as a handle, like if you want to pick up the stove and move it, you can do so without spilling a bunch of stuff. You can see it locks into the side there. But it's shaped in such a way that it makes me wonder if they didn't have another use in mind for this. So if you know what they were thinking and what that's used for, if you could please comment, that'd be great. So there we are, we're boiling. And at this point, you can drop in a tea bag and have some tea. You could use it to make one of my favorite lunches, the shin cup. It's basically a noodle cup, and it has less meat in it than the thigh cup. A point to consider about these Swiss Volcano stoves is that if you're in a situation where you need to have a colorless, smokeless, odorless fire, like if you were in the military, or if you were needing to have a fire and make your lunch in a way that wasn't going to attract a lot of attention, this is a great option. Because one of the telltale giveaways that a person is around is that you can smell smoke. And in the wilderness, you can smell smoke for a very long ways. Another use that comes to mind for this would be if you were cooking your lunch, say in an office building or some other place where you didn't want to have smoke, etc., etc. And just be sure that you're following whatever the local laws are and things. So I like the stove. It has its uses. Certainly if you're in an area where there's a burn ban and they'll let you use like an alcohol stove or a sterno or something, this is a great option. You would have to carry your fuel along. One of these little miniature sterno cans like this will burn for about 45 minutes, which is easily enough to get 4 and maybe 5 batches of boiling water out of this. And they weigh next to nothing. Other options would be bringing alcohol along. The denatured alcohol in these things is a real popular option. But for synthetic fuels, these are great. If you're going to be using a lot of found fuels, I know that they're more expensive, and I know that they're heavier, but I'm going to have to give the nod to the Kelly kettle just for the ease of use for found fuels, and then also given the fact that if you use found fuels with this cup, you're going to get cup soot on the outside as opposed to on the inside. If you know you're going to be making canned food as opposed to food that you just rehydrate with boiling water, then again I'm going to give the nod to this. So those are just some thoughts, and you'll have to figure out which one is better for you. Thanks for watching.